Okay, so we begin the play. I'm just gonna I have the sunlight, so why not use it? And it opens with these extended set directions and scene directions, um, which are typical stage directions. Sorry, which are typical for a play, which is so different than a novel, which might use description throughout. So these are instructions to the actors, the directors, and the set designers for what the play should look like. There's a lot of instruction here that I'm not going to look at, but I think I'm just going to take you to a few sentences. The room is heavily comfortable, but not cozy and home-like. I think it's they're affluent, they're rich, they have servants, um, they have comfort, they're well taken care of. But it isn't a home. It's as much as like a place where they park their money. I feel, we get this a little bit when um, we get more of this idea when we're told the lighting instructions, which are pink and intimate, like a fire, and they transform to something brighter. And for me, the key word is harder. This idea that the inspector is going to look closely at them, look closely at this family. Absolutely. They're wealthy. We get then there's champagne and port and cigars and cigarette. They're made, so they're big bucks people, and they're very, you know, privileged. Let's say, Burling is always a bit large. He has to be, I think. He is provincial, like he's a bit low. He's not posh, certainly. He's a kind of not working class, but he's not affluent. Not like Mrs. Burling, who is her husband's social superior. She's the one where the money comes from and the status. Gerald is attractive and handsome, but not flashy or dandyish. Eric is he's not relaxed. Sheila's pretty, I think, which is all pretty much we're told about, and she's really excited by life. I think in a way she's a bit naive about things. And what you get these little character portraits right from the start, and they're really interesting in terms of their contrast with what we see of these characters later. We definitely get the sense of this high upper class atmosphere. Now let's take a look at we're going to look at Mr. Burling's first speech to his son and his soon-to-be son-in-law. And this is all about showing him in a dramatically ironic way, because he's wrong about nearly everything. Okay? Remember, this play is set in 1912, right before the First World War. It was shown for the first time in 1945 in the Soviet Union, which is after the Second World War, which we can definitely see coming out of the first, or here you'd argue that in this play for sure. And of course we have today. And this triple context helps us really understand a lot of what's going on. Here, principally, we're getting this sense of the dramatic irony. Let me just take you through a few of these parts. Sorry, I'm just using the sunshine as much as I can. There's a good deal of silly talk about these days, and I speak as a hard-headed businessman who has to take risks and know what he's about. I say, you can ignore all this silly pessimistic talk. So what is all this pessimistic talk? There's going to be a strike. There was a huge general strike soon after this, which is the first thing. He on the other hand, is a proper businessman and knows what value is. He talks about war and Germany. Also completely wrong. There's going to be a major war, of course. As we know, he doesn't think so at all. And he's back to this hard, practical man of business. He's talking about technology, how fantastic it is. And his big example is the luxury liner, the Titanic, which he calls unsinkable, absolutely unsinkable, which is a really key moment in the play because on its maiden journey, the Titanic sunk. So despite, and he celebrates airplanes, which were used for bombings and actually for war and more devastation, maybe, than they realize at this moment. So the irony is, again, further emphasized in 20 or 30 years' time, in 1940, you may be giving a little party like this. You might be getting your kids engaged. And I tell you, by that time, we'll be living in a world that'll have forgotten all these capital versus labor agitations. And everywhere there's going to be more peace, except, of course, in Russia, because they're always behind. So all of this is all just irony completely. Again, the play was debuted in Russia. He's just wrong about absolutely everything. This wrongness makes us laugh at him, but also gives us an idea of the attitude of the rich and privileged at this time. Then you get these ideas of socialism being mocked, of these major writers like Bernard Shaw and H.G. Wells. Priestley himself was socialist. Of course, in 1917, we have the Soviet Revolution, which led to a communist state in Russia, which is where this play is debuting. Again, just emphasizing more and more the ridiculousness of Mr. Burling. But the main thing he says is that he rejects this notion that we should think about other people as if we're in this together, community. He really makes fun of the idea of community. He rejects community. Instead, he says, we're just in it. You should just be in it for you and you alone. And this is really his ideology. Not even a family. I mean, at times he seems to be for family. But really, he's ultimately for himself and himself only. So here we get Mr. Burling before the inspector comes, and what Priestley's done is he set him up as this character of complete self-interest, greed, and he's a figure of mockery, of course, because he gets it all so completely wrong.